Hello, good evening, everybody. Sorry, one second. The one thing. We're good. You good? Okay, hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Welcome to the MECO presentation brought to you by Sonoma County Environmental Health. My name is Arian Blanco, and I'm one of the supervising environmental health specialists here at Sonoma County Environmental Health. And I'll be going through the slides today, and then we'll have a Q&A session at the end, so feel free to get your questions ready, save them for the end, please. Thank you. All right, so first off, what is a MECO? So MECO is a new program introduced here in Sonoma County now, which is pretty much a home-based mini restaurant. And it's operated in a home, in a private primary home, where food is stored, handled, and prepared. So this has to be your primary residence where you're conducting the business. And then the definition of a private home. It's a residential building, a house, an apartment, or other owned or leased space where individuals reside. A MECO must be conducted within the primary residence. So this means that you cannot do it at a vacation home, if you rent, you have to have a leasing agreement or rental agreement. The landowner has to approve of the operation. And yep. So how is a MECO regulated? MECOs are food facilities under Cal Code, California Retail Food Code, just like any restaurant, temporary food facility, mobile food facility. And environmental health actually regulates it just like we regulate the other ones, and we conduct inspections. That would be one inspection per year. And we would have to schedule these appointments for the inspections. You will not be receiving a placard for the MECO program. So I'm sure you've noticed outside of restaurants, you'll see a placard that says pass, conditional pass, or closed. This program is exempt from that, so you will not be receiving any of those. And then some of the key requirements. So food must be prepared, cooked, and served on the same day. So this means no prep the day before for serving the next day. I know there's a lot of foods, for example, restaurants that we see that get prepared the day before because they take an enormous amount of time to prepare, for example, slow cooking and such. It must be done on the same day. Food may only be sold directly to customers for on-site dining, delivery, or takeout. The maximum number of meals per day is 30 and 90 meals per week. And $100,000 per year in gross sales is the maximum. And you can only have one full-time employee at the MECO operation. In addition to the family or household members, anybody in the household can work there, but you can only have one full-time employee that does not reside in that property. Okay, and as far as zoning goes, in Sonoma County, restaurants and similar businesses are not allowed in unincorporated areas meant for agriculture. So if it is zoned for ag, you cannot operate a MECO out of it. Operating a MECO does not change the way your home is classified for housing purposes. So pretty much it remains residentially zoned. Cities and counties cannot create special zoning rules to stop a MECO from operating in a private home. And then some of the limitations. You cannot prepare or store food from outside of the home kitchen. So what this means is you can't add anything to the house to make it kind of a restaurant, or it has to be within the home kitchen. You cannot prepare outside or in other areas that are not approved. Display signs. You can't have signs outside of your facility on the street that advertise that there's a MECO here, that there's food, any menus, anything like that, posters. You can't sell food to other businesses, cater or sell at farmers markets or other events. That falls into another permit category. That is a temporary food facility permit. If you have questions about that, you can also reach out to our office to obtain one of those permits. And then you can't be a commissary for a food truck or a cart or any other mobile food facility. You can't use a third-party service to deliver food. So this means Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, any of those services. If you're gonna deliver food, it has to be somebody from within that household or that one employee. You may not serve alcohol or allow customers to bring their own without an ABC license. You can't have live animals in the kitchen during food service or preparation either. And some of the menu restrictions, again, this is, we call it a mini restaurant, but it is, there are some restrictions with regards to the amount of food prep and what that entails. So you cannot make any dairy products, e.g. yogurt, cheese, ice cream without a state dairy license from the CDFA. You cannot serve raw oysters, you cannot serve raw milk or raw milk products, and you can't prepare foods that require a HACCP plan, such as smoking, acidifying, or for preservation of food, curing, or vacuum packaging. And that's because there's a lot more controls in place for those, and that's a little bit more extensive of a process that requires more sanitary and procedural controls that the MICO is not set up for. So in order to open up a MICO, first step, you have to submit a permit application, standard operating procedures, and pay the permit fees. As of right now, permit fees are waived, so this permit is 100% free until October 31st. You can just fill out the application, bring it into our office, email it in, and you get a free permit for you. Then you get an initial inspection after the application is reviewed and we verify that everything is correct and you meet all the requirements. And you're issued a permit. It's really simple. The application and standard operating procedure sheet is very long, but a lot of it is kind of it's guided. The form guides you on the answers. There's a lot of yes or no, a lot of check boxes. So it seems long. It's kind of it's like 6 or 7 pages, but it's really easy to get through. If you have any questions, just feel free to call our office and set up some time for somebody to help you. And then document requirements. So for the routine inspection, like I said, you're gonna have an inspection one time per year. And during this inspection, the inspectors are gonna be reviewing your standard operating procedures. So you should have submitted that with the application, and we're just gonna verify that you have that on site and that the operation is consistent with these documents. So you must display your valid health permit from environmental health. You have to have the permit printed and posted in a place where people can see it. And then keep a copy of the most recent inspection report on site. Once an inspector is done with the inspection, you will receive the report via email or on site that day, and you just need to keep that on site in case anybody asks. And financial records related to the MICO sales, because again, as I mentioned earlier, you can only bring in $100,000 gross. The business license, if it's required by the jurisdiction where the MICO is located, you need to keep that on site as well. And then a copy of a valid driver's license of the person delivering food on behalf of the MICO. So rental notification requirements, as we mentioned earlier, you are allowed to operate a MICO out of a rented location. It's just the tenant has to have a lease agreement and the owner of the property must sign that agreeing to the MICO being on the property. As far as training goes, we treat it just like we treat any restaurant. We want to see that there is a licensed food manager on site. And then anybody who is handling food should have their food handler card, basic requirements for any food facility. And some of the requirements for the MICO inside the home, we want to see a restroom with a sink that has hot and cold water, as well as soap and paper towels stocked at all times. A sink with hot and cold water to clean and sanitize utensils and equipment. So this is your ware-washing sink. You can also have a dishwasher. You want safe drinking water. Surface areas of the kitchen, storage, and restroom must be easy to clean. And a fire extinguisher and first aid kit are important to have on site as well. And if your MICO has a private water well, you need to submit a water agreement from form to EH. Private well water must be treated by a state certified lab and results submitted to EH with the application. As far as initial testing goes, it must show an absence of E. coli and total coliform bacteria, plus testing for inorganic chemicals, metals, nitrates, to confirm all levels meet safety standards, and then annual testing. After the initial testing, you have to submit tests annually to test results annually to confirm. As far as grease traps go, it is recommended, when when you're operating a kitchen, you're gonna be creating more grease is gonna end up going down the drain. We just want you to be aware that this generates a lot more oil and you could potentially clog your drain. So it's just something to keep an eye out for. It is very expensive, to repair if something goes wrong, if you have a sewage blockage or something like that. So a grease trap is recommended, it's not a requirement. How is Amico inspected? So the inspections are similar to a restaurant inspection where an inspector will come out and they'll check the kitchen, the food storage areas, they'll check cleaning facilities, the restrooms, the consumer eating area and the refuse storage area, check temperatures, sanitizer concentration, walk through processes, make sure that it's consistent with the standard operating procedures. And kind of the inspector will take the time to guide you through if they notice that something is lacking, they'll be able to help you and guide you. So cleaning and sanitation practices, and then obviously we don't want any pests or vermin inside the facility, so we'll be looking out for that. There should be hot and cold water available all the time, properly working equipment, and we have to make sure that the equipment supports the menu. And an important part of this Miko permit is being a good neighbor. This is one of the things that we can't stress enough. It is great that we have this program and it's available to everybody. It is a good thing in general for the community that people can start up a business and not without necessarily having to buy a restaurant or buy a location. And it's an easy startup. And see if this is a business venture that you want to go out on and you actually want to expand in the future. So with that being said, it is important to stick to your standard operating procedures, maintain your business hours. You don't want to go too, start too early if it's not approved. You don't want to wake up the neighbors too early or go on into the middle of the night and have cars coming through your driveway at all hours of the night. Help reduce noise, schedule food pickups at staggered times to reduce traffic. You don't want lines outside so that the neighbors can't get in and out of their driveways. And advise customers to drive slowly and safely in the neighborhood. This is not a commercial area. It would still be in a residential area. Designate a spot in your driveway or other area for customers to park. If you have the space, please use it for the Miko parking. And then discard trash in leak-proof containers with tight-fitting lids to prevent odors, pests, and trash in the streets. You may be generating more trash, so just make sure we're not creating vermin, rodent issues by piling up trash outside without a container. And then complaints and nuisances. So when we do receive complaints, we will be going out to facilities, just like we do with any restaurant or any other business we permit. We receive plenty of complaints on a daily basis, and we do go out and verify for validity and see if there is a public health nuisance or risk. And same would go for Amico. An environmental health inspector would go out if there's a food safety issue, or any other local enforcement agency would go out and investigate, for example, noise, parking, or whatever it may be. And again, as I mentioned before, operator may not post signage or other outdoor displays advertising the Miko. So what are the benefits of Miko? It increases economic opportunities, it builds skills and employability, helps build and strengthen the community, adds resiliency to our fragile food system, and then increase in home kitchen food safety, oversight, and education. And then it offers a regulatory pathway to compliance for anyone who wants to start a food business but doesn't have the means to go all in on a restaurant. Okay, and that's it. For more information, there's a link to our website there and our email where you can reach out, and there's our phone number as well. And now we just have a question answer session.
Good job, Aaron.
I have a question, but it's not necessarily Miko, it's more of a barbecue trailer and permitting process for that. Am I able to make an appointment with you, go down to your office and go through the application process for an actual trailer?
Yeah.
Not like an enclosed trailer, like an actual open barbecue, 72-inch smoker, 30 by 60 inch.
Yeah, we definitely encourage you call in and then set up something, maybe it could be, you come into the office. Or we could do it on a phone or Zoom or however, but yeah, you can schedule some time for a quick consult.
And that's that number that was just on the screen there?
Yes,
Okay.
and then we'll have Bill joining us here for the Q&A.
Yeah, just, you guys have some of the applications and some of those forms we were just talking about back here, if there's anything you were interested in as far as that, so Pete, if you want to go look at that, or what the rental agreement, what water agreements look like, feel free to take these, they'll probably guide us in our next topics here.
We do have one question online.
Okay.
Say you've been unmuted. You should be able to speak now once you unmute yourself.
May open up the chat as well. There's somebody at the door.
There's someone with a hand raised. You've been unmuted. Say, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. All you have to do is unmute yourself and you can speak. Okay, perhaps try typing your question in the chat. We do have one question in the chat. How does Mako work with a home under HOA?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and take that one. So, if you're renting the home, you need to get approval from the landlord, and there's still a rental agreement, so the owner of the property knows what's happening on there. HOA has to be in compliance with the HOA rules, but we're not gonna go any further about that, so that's gonna be kind of between you and the HOA. So we say, yeah, you need to be in compliance with your HOA rules, same thing with the trailer park, where you might own the trailer. We're not gonna dive that deep into it. If you're the owner of the property, then that's gonna suffice on your application. Complaints might follow after that, but,
Yeah.
anyone else out there?
Regarding the well water, about how much does it cost to get that tested, run? Is there, I know that's probably a different department, but is there a guidelines for cost of that?
You would check in with an independent well driller or water sampling company locally. So again, for the back T is relatively cheap, about $80 to $100. That full panel could be more expensive. That should have been done when the well was drilled, so it just depends on what you already know about your well water. We seem to know that it's potable water that's being served or used in that operation.
We do have one more question online. Kathy, you've been unmuted.
Hi. So things can be eaten on site or taken to go or delivered, correct?
That is all correct, yes.
Could you deliver to like a drop-off station kind of central location where things would be picked up from there?
At a different time, that gets a little tricky.
That
There's
day?
Yeah, if you could do a group drop off, I think there's some possibility for that. Again, the intent is that these are meals that are at temperature, so they're either hot or cold. So just depending on what you're talking about exactly, I think we could work through some scenarios for delivery that would work in a group and somehow you're batching deliveries. I think there's some flexibility there, yes.
Cool.
But stocking a refrigerator at a grocery store, no, then you're getting into too much time and maybe a third party. Again, it's you are the operator, you're providing that meal directly to your consumer, so direct sales. I don't know if
Yes,
that helped or not, Kathy.
yes, it did. I
Okay.
also had just kind of a clarification for something like where it would incorporate an ingredient like dried fruit, whereby would I have to buy dry fruit as an ingredient, or could I make my own dried fruit for later for the meal?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because the idea is that all the prep happens on one day, but the idea is that you have to go and buy a bag of flour each day to make your product. So again, if it's an ingredient that's a stable ingredient and you're storing it day to day, that's different than preparing a food, cooling it, reheating it to the next day. And that's really what we're avoiding here is that you're preparing your food, that meal is intact for that day. Ingredients, sure, there's gonna be shelf stable ingredients you wouldn't expect it to purchase each day.
Got it. Sweet. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
All right, we have one more online. Shivani, you can now speak if you unmute.
Hi, thank you. This has been really helpful. I just have a question about like, so obviously I'm still thinking through my menu. I know I have an initial idea, but if we need to change it or adapt it, what is the process or procedure for that? Like how much, what is that process look like if we need to change it? Like currently and another reason I'm asking is currently I'm thinking if I do this, I'm only gonna want to do like takeout. But if that changes down the line, like, is that a whole nother application or like what? Yeah. So anything you can explain about that process?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, we're still doing our initial review, so we haven't got into the revisions, but on our cottage food, we have this where if you're gonna change your menu, that you would submit a menu adjustment or a menu change, depending on how substantial that is, whether that's a new application or not. But if you're adding to it, if you're already putting in for, I don't know, chicken pot pie, and you decide that I wanna do pot roast as well, it's a pretty easy conversation to have. If you're talking about, well, I had chicken pot pie, now I want to do a barbecue in my driveway or something that's substantially different, or open up table seating that we hadn't reviewed yet, use a different portion of your house, because we are talking about an approved area. So when we're talking about, okay, well, we're gonna have people seated in here, what areas are we talking about, gets a little different. So again, it depends on how substantial the change is, what we would need to do, but we want to work with you, we want to make it work, so.
And then your best bet in that case is just stay in communication with us.
Yeah,
So just reach out and we will definitely walk you through that. It's yeah.
So you can't have like a rotating menu. It sounds like you have to have your stuff kind of set in advance.
that you could have a rotating menu, but some of the menus I've seen have indicated multiple options, and give us as most as you want to do. Like if you want to do fried chicken, if you want to do chicken cacciatore, whatever, list all those things in there. We don't expect you making them all at one time. So I have seen, we've had two approved Micos, and they have pretty robust menus with options on it. But it's really about what's the mode for if are you picking, are people coming and picking up? Are you delivering it? Are you eating on site? Just the mechanism is what we want to know about.
And do you have the equipment to support all those food items?
Right.
So as long as you do, then that makes it
Great.
easy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, then just not freezing, thawing, reheating, all that. Again, that 1 day cooking is what we're looking for all those items. Yeah, go ahead.
Just came back to I just heard the equipment part. So the equipment you're looking for, like regular commercial refrigeration, not a walk-in, but regular.
You can use home grade equipment on this if it's working. So it really is the equipment substantial? Like, do you have enough room in your refrigerator for what you're proposing to do? Do you have enough freezer space? Do you have enough storage space? Is there special cooking or Cuisinarts or anything you need so we want to make sure they're in working order. So yeah, we do want to know what you're doing, so we know what equipment to look for. But yeah, there's no expectation you're gonna build out a kitchen or use commercial grade equipment. If you have that, if you have a wolf range or something in your house, that's great. So, but again, there's no expectation you're gonna go buy, Charleston refrigeration or put in a walk-in. No, in fact, there shouldn't be any extra construction. We don't want people building out garages into kitchens. It's in your primary home kitchen you're living. So just think, I make a great stew. Why not sell it to 30 of my neighbors? Is what we should be doing about this program.
So then like also, not to, I don't want to,
Yeah.
but like, based on being through the restaurant.
Mhm.
On the health inspection side, then are they still looking for the same thing as like hot water being 120?
Yep.
Having enough hot water for all your faucets, because that was always a big one.
Yeah, so are we gonna do the same in-depth, we're not gonna have, there's only one sink we're gonna be turning on in your house, and that's in your kitchen to see if there's hot water, if that's reasonable. We're gonna be opening your refrigerator to see if that temperature is cold in there and that things aren't stored bizarrely. It still counts, cross-contamination is real in the kitchen or in your home. So we're gonna look at those things and talk about those things for sure. The checklist back there, and then on that application, like we said, 6 to 7 pages. But really, it's a lot of initialing, like I understand that washing my hands is important. I understand that keeping food at temperature is important.
Right,
So,
okay.
just kind of a checklist of things to go through as well.
And then can everybody in the chat hear the questions from the audience? Do I have to repeat them?
They can.
Okay.
So, we do have some chat questions as well. Is it better to get a Mako or a cottage food license for a cake business?
Okay, that's a great question, and a lot of people have been digesting this. So cottage food has been around for a while, just a little background. Another home food business. Cottage food is more dependent on what you're making, and has to be a shelf-stable product. So jams, baked goods are generally what we see out of a cottage food. Cottage food allows you to either sell directly to people, and there's a class A and a class B. And in the class B, you can sell indirectly. You can make your jam, get it into a local store, and the local store can sell your product. There's no room for that in Miko. Miko is all direct sales. So that's a big difference between them. So if you're doing a single product like a cake, it also doesn't have the same day prep and serve that Miko has on a cottage food. So you could freeze a cake, bring it back out, decorate it. The finished product still has to be shelf stable, like it's a cake, but maybe you're gonna batch things out in a frozen manner and bring it out, decorate it for that day you sell it. So it really depends on what you mean by that and where you want to sell it. And again, Miko is made for a meal. Is a cake a meal? Then we get into that question of how many cakes make a meal, or what portion of a cake is a meal? Is 4 slices of cake a meal? So you really have to digest it down. So again, Miko is really designed for entree, salad, dessert, beverage, a meal, where cake would fit into cottage food, I think, more nicely. It just depends on how big a volume you're doing. And then we could talk about doing a cake as a Miko, but we don't have one of those yet. Happy to talk about them.
Where is this information on the website?
Okay, so the easiest way to find it is just type Sonoma County Miko, MEHKO, and it'll get you to that. It's on the Sonoma County Environmental Health site, under food, under programs. So navigating through that way gets a little trickier than just trying to let Google do it for you. Oh, is that a plug? I don't know now.
I read that the Mako program allows 1 full-time employee. Can you elaborate a little bit more on this?
I think it's pretty self-evident unless there's a question about it. So your family doesn't count, but you could have someone, if you want to hire someone to help you make your product, you could do that. That person needs to have a food handler card. You couldn't hire 5 people to help you out. Just scalability wouldn't work that way, but you can have one person that's your friend that you're gonna pay as part of this, as an employee of the operation. That person could be maybe even a delivery person too, you've hired this person to do deliveries. Is there more to that question?
There is not.
Okay.
They can type more in the
Okay.
chat if they have some other questions.
Perfect.
Thank you for this meeting, very informative. Can food be made at home, however, outside on the barbecue?
Yes, that's the interesting thing. So yes, you can barbecue meat. If I'm gonna make tri-tip and I'm gonna sell tri-tip sandwiches, ultimately, I can make my tri-tip out there, bring it in, slice it up, make sandwiches, wrap them up, have people come get them or deliver it to them. What we can't have is someone in the driveway of their house setting up a full, let's just say taco stand, because we see a lot of that, right? So we don't expect that, and that's prepping and serving right from your driveway. That's not it. So you can use a barbecue as part of your kitchen food preparation operation, but the expectation is not that people are coming to your driveway and getting food off the barbecue and you're slopping beans out there on the street, right? So it's still controlled kitchen environment, packaging meals, or inviting people in to eat in your home.
Can you act as a caterer if it's under 30 people?
Can you act as a caterer? It's under 30 people. That's a good question, and catering has a lot of aspects. What do we mean by cater? So could you deliver 30 meals to the same party? Absolutely. If that's your limit for the day, I wouldn't see a difference with it if those 30 meals went to 30 different people or to one person. So yeah, what we mean by catering is that you're not going to, you couldn't use your Miko to support a wedding or something like that. You couldn't use it as your home base for private parties and those kind of things. It's generally, I think, what we mean by catering, but you can still meet that number of meal orders. So I think that's what we mean by cater. Again, catering means a lot of things to different people, but think about hosting a wedding or supplying food to a wedding or a large event or a corporate event, something like that. You just can't use that name in your title either, or in your advertising, use the word catering.
And then the website that was previously mentioned, can you find the application and fees on it?
The application should be well, it is on there. It's under what they say. It says Miko SOP, Standard Operation Procedures is what it is labeled as. So what you're doing is you're filling out this SOP document, Standard Operating Procedure document, and then you're also filling out a retail food application, which is what we do use for all restaurants in here. So that way we get standard intake for our clerks to enter it into our database. So that one might be a little bit more difficult to find on there. I know it is there. But starting with the SOPs is what you want to do, or if you email to the inbox, EH@sonomacounty.gov, then we can schedule time to do an inquiry with you, which we've done plenty of these, and it really helps us to kind of get a feel for what you are interested in doing, and then how we could help you steer you through that application as opposed to just trying to tackle the application.
You have those applications here that we,
I do, they're right back there on that table, so we can definitely get you some to look through. Yeah, in general, I start with an inquiry, because the first part of that is your parcel gonna meet the zoning requirement? If it's in an ag, you know, it's a diverse ag or land, extensive ag, it won't work, that's just not part of the ordinance. And secondly, we talk about, do you rent it or own it? Because again, if you're a renter, then you need approval on that. Then are you on a well or septic? Again, that's another part we need to talk about. How much water are you gonna do? Are you gonna be serving water to people, and how much testing are you gonna need to do? But it really helps narrow down the conversation into what you're gonna need to put on that application. Great.
No more questions online?
I think
Oh,
it was,
wait, we got one.
okay, good, good.
Yeah. Can you make sausage out of Miko?
Can you make sausage out of Miko? Sounds like a government type question. I don't know. It's like, make sausage out of Miko. It's that one day, same day thing that's gonna be, I think, a problem with making sausage. I'm not gonna say no. It would still have to be one day. And again, the intent is here really a meal and not a one product. We could talk about it. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk through what your idea is with that, but it doesn't line in perfectly with what the intent of a Miko is. Again, think about, I make one good thing, I make a lasagna, I slice it up, and now I'm selling my lasagna by the slice. Because I make a good one, and why not share it with my neighbors?
So not necessarily a question, but I'll read it out so it's in the recording. In regards to using ingredients that were previously prepared, they should be shelf stable, for example, salami, and not something frozen and brought to temp like vacuum sealed brisket. And then the next there's another question. What if there's a vacation home on the property and a regular home?
Yeah, primary residence is what we're talking about here. So the secondary home should not be the Miko, it's your primary residence. If you were, whatever, my niece lives in the rental or the granny unit, or granny lives in the granny unit, and granny wants to have a Miko back there, then that's fine. It's in her primary residence, but it shouldn't be your vacation home or your secondary residence. The intent is primary residence, so the resident is the one operating Miko out of the home.
I'll give it back to the public to ask a question, and we'll go back online.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there more, we came late.
Yeah.
But is there more information about, more detail about just having to make things on the same day? So say you make like lasagna, for example. You make a sauce a couple days in advance. You
Mhm.
can't do that here, right? Everything has to be made that day.
Yeah, it's really going through those other steps. It's the problem of cooking, cooling, freezing, reheating. It's just, we call that going through the danger zone, and it really puts us through this. When we're looking at restaurants, when we start talking about moderate or extensive prep, that really puts you into this extensive prep. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when we start messing with that. And that it really is where we see a lot of things about cooling and reheating is a good chance of getting bacterial growth in there. So that's the intent, is not to have those happening in here. So could you make your sauce all in one day? Let's hope so, to make a great lasagna.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, again, lasagna example, have asked about, well, then can I freeze it and sell it frozen? And no, it's same day. So the intent is you're selling that food ready to eat, not in a frozen state.
also lasagna is going to that pot.
Yeah,
Not
exactly.
in-
Or, yeah, exactly, because it's going down to that extra step of cooling.
Okay.
So this has been kind of the problem with tamales too. A lot of people have an idea to make tamales, and it's the same. Well, can you do it all in one day? And then can you sell them all at temperature as opposed to, freezing them, like is pretty common practice, right? So That's not the, Christine, am I right with this? I see you nodding back here too, so, but yeah.
So it can't go to them cold.
No, unless it's a cold product, it's the thing, it's like a salad could go to cold. We
Right.
have this idea, I'm on a state group too, and the idea of potato salad, does that work? You know, cause you're not gonna serve someone hot potato salad, that's
Right.
part of its, in its nature, it's a cold product. But it was hot and then brought down cold.
Right.
So it still works if you can do it in one day, just time, it's always time and temperature relationships and how many times you're breaking that barrier.
But the customer has the advantage of taking your hot item and then cooling it.
Exactly.
And saying, hey, I received it hot.
Exactly, then they can take it, that's what we've said before in other meetings, is that we'll take that and have the customer freeze it.
Yeah, once you've delivered it, it's in their hands. So if they wanna take it now and cool it and
And would
separate
you
it.
give them
and do that,
instructions then
that's
to do
fine.
so, probably,
Yeah.
right?
For your security, as an
Yeah,
officer, absolutely,
yeah.
you'd wanna give instructions for anything you get out there.
And it's all about reducing risk at the end of the day, you know, it's not a commercial kitchen, it's a home kitchen, so that's kind of the compromise here.
Right.
And yeah, making it work
Well,
within the bounds.
Will there ever be a time, do you think, like if you went through like more of the extensive, you know, like you had the management, like, or whatever it is, the,
Food manager
you've got the food
certification,
manager, yeah,
Mhm.
so will there ever be a time that you think?
for a home kitchen, I
Yeah.
don't know, again,
Yeah.
I mean,
So new,
think
I
about
know.
where we are, from where it was 20 years ago, there was a strong line, food in your home, no way, you know, that was just, it was not a thing, it was a given, you couldn't sell food from your home. Then that changed with cottage food, now with the Miko, so who's to say where we're gonna be in 10 years from now, I don't know. But, I mean, it just, we need to make sure the food's coming out safe and following these guidelines, it's a big dramatic step from where we were to have this as an option for the community.
How many are doing it so far?
We got 2 approved right now, and I probably have about 3 or 4 that have been talking, yeah, I've talked to, you know, not hundreds, but 25, 30 people, so 3 more in the queue and 2 that are approved. Yeah. go ahead.
What's the time frame from all of the paperwork to inspection to being approved?
Yeah, it can go pretty quick. It just depends on how good that package is when it comes in, how much, you know, I'll just start with a phone conversation, so we know that we're on the same page before you fill out that application. It really does help. And, yeah, the processing time for paperwork's good, and to inspection, it could be about a couple weeks probably. And then that's all it is. Once we do that inspection, which is basically just meeting at your house, reviewing your processes, we'll sign it off and you're approved from there. So some of the other things we talked about here too, just briefly are about like, what other, you might need a business license depending on where you're at, and the city of Santa Rosa. Is requiring that out here in the unincorporated area. I don't believe there is one you need, so you would check with your local planning, department on that. Yeah, that's just one of the things, we say, oh, there's no, this is a great opportunity too, because this permit fee is waived currently.
Yeah.
And it's good from the day, so if you start today, it's till September 1st next year, that's waived, that's where your renewal is, you'll get an invoice from us basically a year saying, hey, here's your new permit fee. And right now, we're looking at, you know, what the permit fee would be is, 1,044, but there's already a board waiver to make it at 688, and the board might talk to the board, this board sponsors might drop that more, so we don't know exactly where it's gonna be. We just know for now that we still have some funding that we can bring these applications in at no fee, so I would take advantage of it. Yeah, Christine, please.
I would also say if it's October 15th and you know you want to get an application in, but you don't have everything all the way together, go ahead and just turn that application in so we can get you under that waived fee before the 31st.
So that's a deadline we have, is the 31st right now, we know
Right now.
until the 31st. we're good.
You might have some room in that deadline, but as of right now, it's October 31st. And all you have to do is have your application in. Your application can be a little bit incomplete, or we can still be working on something. But get it in, because I'd hate to have you show up November 1st and then have to pay the fee when you could have brought it 2 days earlier.
Anyone else
We have
in there?
no more questions online? Questions from the public?
Yeah, any questions? We'll be here for a little bit, see if you have some ideas to.
Then like a normal health inspection once a year type of thing.
Exactly, and so on your renewal, then we would talk to you again about that, so. And then these would be scheduled inspections too, The only time we might do unannounced is if there's some kind of complaint investigation, but that'd be so far down the road. We would call you first, obviously, like, hey, you know, we heard we're getting a complaint, let's talk this out. So, but any kind of just surprise inspection would be a long way down the road, you know.
We do have one more online. Shivani, you've been unmuted.
Is there somewhere online or documented? I think I'm a little bit confused about, I know you guys talked about like shelf stable ingredients and so on, but like what kind of prep, if any, can be done before and what absolutely has to be done? Like, you know, can you chop something the day before? Like, you know, things like that. If there's any written information about that, I feel like that would be really helpful because, yeah. And if that's available somewhere, it would just be a request. Thank you.
I hear your request. I don't believe it is, it could be a very difficult document to come up with. I can see what other, you know, again, I don't know if you've worked with Cook Alliance or anything like that to see what they might have to say about that. This is another group that's been advocating for this. You guys have all heard about Cook Alliance. They have a great website about this, about the whole program. They have classes, so I definitely plug them as a resource. But we're stuck with, well, not stuck, but our talking point is that it is everything on the same day. So is there a way to, I get the semantics of it, if I bought chopped celery versus chopping my own celery, well, then what was that, the same day prep, or is that an ingredient? But again, think about ingredients all being assembled on the same day is what we're talking about. And served
Okay.
on the-
Great, thank you.
So, yeah, I'm happy to review any ideas you have with it.
Nothing more
Great
online. I think
questions.
we can call
Great
it.
questions.
Thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
appreciate it. All right, yes, good job.